We hear the West is losing and world is splitting into five, six pools. This is not an instant mistake, and it's not an innocent mistake. It's a propaganda narrative pushed by autocrats like Putin and Xi. They publicly vote to build a multipolar world, but that's a cover for their own stagnation. What you will see here, I mean, the world is actually bifurcating, right? Into two camps, not forming equal new pools. So I have studied a lot this data, and I will show you why the West still has the advantage. I mean, how the autocrats are bluffing and what does it mean for the global power. So, multipolar world is an accidental buzzword. It's a strategic. It's not an accidental buzzword. It's a strategic disformation campaign. Look at what we're saying. Putin and Xi, in May 2026, they formally pledged to build a strong foundation for a multipolar world. Great PR line. It sounds democratic, as if they are just sharing power. But in practice, it's a shield for the real agenda. Russia and China are marketing themselves as equals to the West, but the numbers tell a different story. Russia, in particular, is not a pool so much as bully hell. I mean, 1.7% of the world GDP. They even admitted in their own propaganda Russian economy is roughly the size of Italy or South Korea, and it's 60 to 70% of its exports are raw materials, making a typical resource appendage, not a driver of world progress. So China's also pushing with polarity, right? In diplomatic forums. But remember, China joined the top 10 global economies only in recent years and still trails the US by a wide margin. It's not a small margin. If you judge by innovation and finance, Western institutions still dominate. In short, calling the world multipolarity masks a simple reality. The West, United States of America, European Union, allied democracies remains one integrated bloc with dynamic economies and open markets, while the autocratic bloc, which are China, Russia, and the new and a few partners like Iran, like North Korea, are smaller, more stagnant and reactionary. So here we have a systematic bifurcation. So it means that two fundamental different systems are competing, not five equal powers. On one side is the high trust market integrated system, which are United States of America, European Union, Japan, and etc. Its key features are we can count like transparent prosperity, right? We have open entry, we have meritocracy, and also creative distraction, which is very important. On the other side is the extractive command system, like China's, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Many of the Arab world also characterized by state control, cronyism, and political loyalty tests. So democracies laws protect your property and contracts like UIT, UDH, UDHR report, UDHR article 17 explicitly forbids arbitrary confiscation of property. Courts are mostly independent. Compare this to the common economies. Property can be seized and a VIM. Courts serve the state, and innovation is steered by political priorities. The statistics show the dividend of trust. In top economic freedom countries, the poorest 10% earn eight, eightfold what they do in the least free countries. Life expectancy is 16 years higher, so child mortality is ninefold lower. So these are not opinions; they're facts. As Benjamin Shapiro says, fact doesn't care about your feelings. So they are basic human outcomes. Yes, this capitalism power, mass participation, boosting everyone's welfare, not locking built-in bloodlines. So despite the doomsday talk, the West is still listen in core science and also tech. The US, EU, Japan, and are engines of research and development and noble level breakthroughs. The research and development figures look like this. In 2024, for example, China spent 1.03 trillion on research and development, slightly above the US, which is 1.01 trillion. But that's where the raw comparison ends. You cannot only compare them by numbers. Only one Nobel Prize has ever been won for work done in China, right? Whereas US dominates high impact research. Science needs openness, talent from all over, unfettered in inquiry. As one analyst noted, that science thrives on an environment of openness, intellectual freedom, and talent mobility. Things harder to find in a closed system. For example, the best innovation clusters are in both West and East. Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Tokyo, San Francisco, Seoul, Beijing, but also Zurich, London, New York. Silicon Valley remains the most innovation-intensive hub, not a Beijing park. High VC activity, a startup dynamism, these are Western hallmarks. And most importantly, the term I love, creative distraction, it's a term they use vastly as libertarians. Our system eats incumbents for breakfast. Of the thousands of companies ever on the Fortune 500, only 49 have been on every list since 1955. Right, most giants vanished. New firms rise. The turnovers are strange. The permanent bailout or cartel is the exception, not the norm. But by contrast, the common block protects the old giants. Autocrats prop up crown champions and cartelized industries. Meanwhile, the Western market ruthlessly oust the lazy. As a 2024 report, I believe, notes that only 44 firms have survived 70 years on the Fortune 500. So the rest is either died or were disrupted. Uh, this is a vast number, right? And uh, in high trust countries, you can also start a business. Hire talents, fail and try again, fail and try again, fail and try again. Bankruptcy means reward, not a crime. It's not a crime. In low trust autocracy, entry is often blocked by regulation or graft. And failure can mean jail or asset seizure. So the OECD warns that competition is the engine of productivity. But many autocratic economies are run more like Carter's. Contrast free trade with tariff walls. The World Trade Organization warned in early 2026 that global trade growth will barely reach 1% due to the lingering tariff trees, a massive self-inflicted drag. Meanwhile, the integrated bloc is still writing trade rules and investing in infrastructure. The United States CHIPS Act, EU Green Technology, and blah 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 blah. Why the autocratic bloc resort to trade retaliation and also weaponize your tariff, trade, selective bans? We have this issue also in US nowadays, but not they're not. A very long-lasting issue. So, uh, I mean, if both sides don't benefit, the deal doesn't happen, right? So, in short, the high trust block continuously generates both through innovation, free market, and correction, self corrections, while the common block tries to seize it by force. One relies on ideas and entrepreneurship, the other on political mandates and bribes. So the gap shows up everywhere, from per capita incomes to defense budgets to technology investment. So so what strategy stakes here? What does it mean, and why does it matter? Because misreading this split can lead to fatal policy mistake. This isn't just academic; it shapes global security and prosperity. The Western allies are certainly under serious political polarization, economic shocks, pandemic aftershocks. In 2026 Munich Security Report bluntly noted that Western democracy forces favoring distraction over reform are gaining momentum. In other words, some Western publics are frustrated, but that turmoil is a system working. Democracy allows such debate and correction. This is the evidence of systematic. If it's not the evidence of systematic defeat, contrast that with other camps. China faces a plunging birth rate, a shrinking workforce. This image suggests, China will lose 16 million people by mid 2013. The Russian population has been falling for years. Both are trapping out demographers. They're researching for quick fixes, build islands, pressure partners, expand military. Their options fewer and harder. So Russian limps along with 0 to 1% growth. Right? China is trying to stimulus to prop 4% growth. These are stress responses, not signs of durable vitality. So meanwhile, the West is adjusting. Not as refocused. They have some frictions in Ratum, but let's say they're refocused. Trade diversification behind it, accelerating Europe. Europe make deals with India and also South America. The US and also allies consolidating tech standards, and the dollar still dominates the global finance. About 58% of the reserve project only fell to 52 by 2025, and the euro and the yen fund AI labs and EV plants. Yes, some analysts talk about decline, but the data say the US and France are still first among powers. They're simply being forced to shed the naive end of the history complemency and compete harder. Yet, do not think that we are in the end of the history era. That was a fantasy era of 1990s. And not that never was real. It was never real. And we are understanding that right now that it was never real. So that's a solstice, not an apocalypse, right? So power landscape 2026 for us, we are not fracturing into five equal camps and the split is binary. I mean, those who own the future infrastructure like AI, like biotechnology, like green energy, like global finance. I'm not really sure about the green energy, but we'll talk about that more. I mean, green energy, do we really need to go after the green energy is the global warming gravity? These are the issues we'll talk more about them, but we have that investors sphere. So we have these are all things that I said: AI, biotechnology, global finance versus those who are frantically trying to block it. I mean, the West and its friends are pouring resources into the next generation chips, new medicines, space exploration. This is the other block is pouring resources into submarines, missiles, and supply chain autarky. So why does it matter for you? If your country or company navigates correctly, you will cooperate with a high trust block, investing and innovating. If you buy the multipolarity myth, you might hedge incorrectly or surrender the ground to extractive side. So the geopolitical stakes, the block that adapts and hidden technology and trade will shape the rules of the next decade. The other block will react and resist with the diminishing returns. So here is the bottom line. Forget multipolarity. Think about binary blocks. The West, United States of America, EU is not in a losing race. It's a competitive race requiring retooling. Our economy thrives on open markets, rule of law, and innovation. And the data show these are winning strategies. The autocratic bloc towards multipolarity rotary to mask thickness, stagnant growth, heavy depth, demographic decline. And reality, the world is bifurcating. I mean, it's not balancing. And who controls the future infrastructure like technology standards, energy system, global finance will dominate. And right now, the control still lies with a high trust market integrated block. So if you found this as valuable and you would like to stay ahead of the curve, join our next deep briefing. We'll continue to cut through the noise with data driven insights. See you in the next briefing.